My ambition in the building. Woo!
I love it, but I'm not going to do
Yes.
it.
But I know, guys, before we get started, by the way, we've all got blankets.
We have. It's getting cold,
It is
guys.
cold
Yeah.
season.
Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mumbition. I'm Alex.
And this is Tiffany. And today, guys, it's going to be good. So we have Natalie in the building. Natalie! I love it. Natalie. Today it's going to be so good. Tell you guys a little bit more about Natalie. So Natalie Ojevah MBE is a Forbes 30 under 30 changemaker, corporate innovator, and a proud Southeast Londoner who's redefining what ambition looks like. From apprentice to vice president at Barclays, Natalie has built programs that uplift underrepresented founders and driven change from the inside out. In this episode, she shares a journey from Woolwich to Buckingham Palace, the power of therapy, why your 9 to 5 can be your investor, and how she's building legacy while raising two young boys who are 4 and 8 months old. Oh, Natalie, how's it all going?
I am so tired. It was good. As you was reading that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. And then you got to the
Yes.
baby part, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the bit that I'm feeling right now is
Wow.
in the trenches. But I'm good. Babies have just recovered from being ill.
I feel like that's the most relatable thing you're going to say all day today. We're all there.
To everyone, and every parent is saying it back to me. They're like, "Yeah, I've just recovered from it last week. Yeah, I recovered it from a day ago." Yeah, I think everyone's in that trenches at the moment, but I'm good. I'm back to work, and things are busy. So I feel like I'm in this weird readjustment stage of getting back into the swing of things, I guess.
So when did you go back to work?
Oh,
very recent.
This is my 4th week back.
Okay, so really new back there.
Yeah, like freshly new. Like these extra bags are
they're not Versace.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely 4 weeks back. It feels like it's interesting because I was having this conversation with a colleague. It feels like it's been a lot longer, but I think that's because I did return to work days. So I was very kind of big on just making sure that I kind of knew what was going on with work before I stepped into work. So yeah, I did a few return to work days, but yeah, back 4 weeks now, getting more into the swing of it. Already I've had to have a sick day because baby's been sick, I've been sick, and no one to have Baba for childcare. So all of that. And getting the questions of, oh, you're back at work now. That's soon. So yeah, it's that weird transition phase, I guess.
And how do you feel about those comments? Because oh, you're back already. It sounds like it might have like a little judgy undertone there.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, oh, we're not expecting you back. I feel like I'm quite honest and quite blunt, and I'm very much like, in this cost of living crisis, you expect me
in this economy?
Like, you expect me not to be back? This isn't my first. But also I was going to write a post on this because I think I was just getting so many questions. Like, it's not anyone's business why I'm back either. Like, I'm back, I'm here, I'm doing my job. This is my job. Don't ask me questions as to why I'm back. So I always, whilst I do that whole joke about, oh, it's because of finances, also there is a bit of me that's like, just don't ask me, because everyone has their own personal reasons why they're back.
Yeah, and it isn't anyone's business, is it? You know, I think there's a judgment implied just by saying it. So if you don't raise the question, you don't need to know that. Just ask how they're getting on. How are you finding it? They're the questions to ask.
Yeah,
how are you?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry, I was going to say. I think it says a lot about like how people think suddenly you have a child and like that like changes your ambition. I think that's what it is, because I think you just have an additional person in your life, but I think you're still there. Because I remember even early years of becoming a mom, I thought I'd become a mom and I'd become this like goddess of motherhood, and I'd be like floating in like white gowns and just kind of like mommy, baby, you know. But I remember very early on, I mean, even a few days after my son was born, I had my laptop on my lap, like trying to like do
Honestly,
something productive. But
I
that's
remember
just
bringing you flowers and you had your laptop open.
exactly,
And
and
I
I
was like,
think,
you sound like
what?
me.
yeah. But I think that's because you're still there. It's just that now you've got a little baby trying to figure her out, and people don't realize that's just you're still there, right? That birth hasn't necessarily changed. Do you just means you have an additional kind of I suppose aspect to you that now have to figure
Yeah,
out, but it doesn't change your ambition in a way. You're still ambitious.
100%. I think
Yeah,
that if anything, it just makes your drive more
yeah,
so like, okay, I'm more driven. But I've always, and it's funny because before I became a mum, that was probably my biggest apprehension, right? So I've always been like, my career has always been really something that I'm passionate about and that I'll put a lot of time into.
yeah.
And I guess the narrative that I saw online at the time was, and also I guess honestly, like my mum growing up, like my mum stopped working to raise me, and that was
Mm,
something that I was always very conscious of. So I was always a little bit like, oh, am I going to have to pause my career? Like I don't really want to do that. And I think it's just it's the it's the way you see the world and kind of the decisions you make, right? And
mm,
I had Theo my first, and I was like, actually, I feel so much more empowered now to like drive and do what I want to do, because actually I know my time is really limited. Like I am very time poor. So where I put my time into has to make sense to what I'm doing.
mm,
And yeah, like if anything, it's definitely made me feel more driven and more like, okay, let's do this. So I was like you for my second, Micah, who is 8 months. Um, I had planned already that I was like, okay, I've been sitting on this idea of writing a book. With my first maternity leave, Theo slept a lot, which I think was naive because Michael wasn't so much the same. But he was like, Theo slept a lot, and I watched a lot of Netflix. So this time round, I'm going to write my book while he's sleeping and do X, Y, and Z. And I kind of planned things a little bit more efficiently because, like, I knew kind of what was coming up and how I wanted to elevate myself. So I definitely feel like there's a sense of people thinking, oh, because she's had a baby, she's going to pause and she's going to take a minute. But also, I think that's also, there's this weird gender roles, right? That sometimes people don't expect women to be the breadwinners and women to, actually take up most of that space. So yeah, it is. It's an interesting space, but I'm also like, just don't ask me now. Just don't
mm.
ask.
It's personal. I think it's personal. I always think. I mean, you mentioned there about your mum briefly, and
Mm,
I think for like motherhood, it's a personal like
it is.
narrative. You know,
It
we
is.
take things from our past, we interpret it a certain way, we then become something from how we see it. Like for me, I think my dad came from Nigeria, came to England, he did all the manual whatever
Yeah.
jobs he did, he wasn't around. We certainly felt that in childhood it affected my relationship with him now in terms of, I don't have like a strong relationship with my dad. It is not someone I can turn to because he wasn't around. I don't
Yeah.
blame him though now that I reflect, because I realized that he was just doing the best with the tools he has. But what
Exactly.
also motivates me is the fact that I can work from home. Like I've got kids downstairs right now, but I'm upstairs working. So rather than seeing the disadvantage, I'm like, I'm blessed like to be in
100%.
a I don't know, in a generation where we have internet, you have I think the world's a lot more fluid. There's ideas out there. We've got AI. I can work from home. I can see my kids. I can take them to school. So it's actually making me think, how can I make the most of that space and the opportunity and ambition rather than seeing motherhood as like a weakness. So I think it's just, but that doesn't take away from the fact that, like you, I have a lot of bags I can't even begin to talk about, and I'm drinking more coffee than I need to. But I think it's interesting how we interpret our experiences in childhood
Yeah.
and what type of mother we want to be, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%. And I think there's something there around just understanding, like, I think I've had to unpick a lot of the things that I've learned as well,
Okay.
kind of growing up, right? So,
Mm,
and it's funny because whilst there's been things that I've had to unpick, there's things that I've clearly like realized I'm definitely want to go against. So,
okay.
some kind of example. So, I'm very similar to you. My dad came over from Nigeria. My mum came over from Trinidad. So, firstly, I have very two different cultures in my household. My mum raised me all the time. My dad kind of went out and worked. The biggest kind of difference in my household was that my mum kind of had mental health challenges. So there'll be peaks and troughs where she would be great, and then there would be other moments where, you know, she wouldn't be so okay, and sometimes she would have to be in hospital, and that would mean that I would then stay with my nan and my dad. And I guess there's certain things that, like, seeing my mum and my dad grow up, I'm like, as an adult, I make sure I take time for. So mental health and well-being is one thing that I never shy away from. And you know, we've kind of spoken about therapy and bits like and pieces like that, but I genuinely feel like through my growing up, I'm very conscious of the little things that I might have seen when I was younger, how that might have played an effect on me as an adult. And especially into motherhood as well, right? So I'm very open with this anyway on kind of my platform. But when I was younger, I had a little brother. He passed away from meningitis when he was 5. And I'll be honest, as an adult now being the mother, one thing that I've had to go through therapy is a little bit of my complex in terms of having a child that will reach an older age than my brother will, and kind of especially Theo going into this 5th year, kind of what that kind of means for me and how I can kind of regulate my emotions. And you know, all of that is because of my experiences as a child, seeing how mental health can play if it's not picked up and if it's not supported at the right times, that I've now as an adult can identify that in myself before that's even happened. So there's definitely things in your childhood that you know kind of play a part into who you are and shape your thought processes and things like that.
And some of it's like unlearning, isn't it? And like almost like, I think people describe it as parenting yourself and like going back through those things. But yeah, I think it's totally understandable that, you know, as that you're kind of reliving a bit of that trauma as your little one is getting to the same age as your brother. That sounds super tough. And so therapy, has that been really helpful to kind of deal with that?
Massively helpful. And it's funny because I think I've done a lot of therapy over the time. And one thing that I say to people is therapy is not a one-stop shop. You don't just go in for a couple of sessions and that's it. I've definitely had different therapy at different stages of my life, but I think it's funny what reoccurs at different times and you don't think that it will pop up. So whilst, you know, when I was younger, I had therapy, bereavement therapy. And when I was younger, definitely, you know, as I've had Theo and he's getting older, I've realized there's a few anxieties there that I didn't necessarily think I had before. You know, so it's definitely been an interesting journey. I know the journey's definitely not ended. I'll probably still be going in therapy in 5 years. But I think the biggest thing for me is that I can openly come and share and talk about these things. Whereas before the therapy, I wasn't able to string my thought process into one line. Whereas I can clearly outline, okay, this is why I think this. This is why I'm feeling this. These are some of the things that I can do to just reassure myself, actually, live in this moment right now, not in the anxieties of your past. So it definitely takes a journey. So I will say to anyone listening that is going through therapy, like, you know, just stick with it. Sometimes there's different types of therapies as well that help for different stages of your life. But therapy has definitely been a lifesaver for me.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. I think you guys can probably hear my daughter in the background a bit. Can you? But this is how
a little bit.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like mum life, but I don't feel too much guilt to stop the recording. So you gotta do what you gotta do. She's fine, she's well, she's just a bit, you know, unwell. But I was gonna say about I love what you said, and I think, you know, it says a lot about your resilience. And I think resilience is something that I'm always fascinated in. And I'd love to hear because you seem, and I don't want to say it's you seem balanced, but I think given everything you've been through, you're clearly like resilience. You clearly have this kind of maybe bulletproof optimism, which I think is just like us kind of like, you know, nothing's going to bring me down because I've been through so much. I'd love to hear how you sort of, what are the things you do for yourself? Obviously, aside from therapy, are there any kind of mental shifts that you have or day-to-day like practices or, I don't know, seasonal practices, just things that helps you kind of just show up as, you know, a mum that's also ambitious and balancing career. You're trying to make sure you're
I
okay. How
love
do you?
that.
What do you do?
Do you know what? I think I really try to keep grounded in the people that are around me.
Okay.
So whilst I do all of this stuff at work, and people be like, "Oh my God, you got an MBE,
Yeah.
you've done
I've
all
got
of
to
this."
say.
For me, like I'm just Natalie, and I think that the thing that keeps me grounded is my family and my friends. I was literally having a conversation with someone earlier just around this, and my friends have known me from before all of this, right? They've known that Natalie that was going through that bereavement. They've
Okay.
known that Natalie that was before that bereavement, that was after that bereavement, that is the Natalie that's at Barclays. And I think having those friendships where I can sit down and have a conversation, and like with my partner, we've been together for so long that he knows, he met my brother, so I can have that conversation with him. Those keep me grounded. There's obviously other things that I like to do because I'm conscious that I'm not just all work. I'm also someone that likes to have time by myself. So I try to solo travel, which has been paused for about 2 years. I like to do swimming, so I try to get out and just swim. I'm currently learning to become a swimming teacher because,
Oh,
again,
wow.
since I've become a mum, seeing Theo in the pool, I'm like, I want to give back in a nice way and kind of contribute to that journey. So there's certain ways that I feel like feed me that I do. But yeah, definitely the biggest thing would be my friends and my family and the way they keep me grounded.
Wow, I like that, and I think that's I think it's so important, isn't it? Because as you were saying, I was thinking about when you're busy feeding so many people, it's important that you feed yourself as
Yeah,
well. I think sometimes we forget that this idea of it starts with us as mothers, often because we carry kind of the emotional, I don't know, like the temperature of the room. Like we always set
100%,
that. We set that, don't we? Especially for our kids. I mean,
100%.
I remember this morning I was sick on the way to nursery. My son was just like, oh, he has his moments where like 9 minutes. I mean, it takes us 9 minutes to get there. I'm like so grateful, like we can speed walk. But on the way, it's like, oh, it's us stopping. He says something about
Yeah,
fumes in his
yeah,
nose, and I'm like, in my head, as an adult, I'm thinking it's just fumes. It will be done soon. But and I remember just counting to 10 in my head, and I think it was a moment where I could have easily been like, just but
yeah,
Hurry up.
yeah,
and for him, it's such a big thing. If I like really shout at him, it will ruin his morning, and
hmm
it's just not worth it. And all it takes me is 10 seconds. But because I went running yesterday, because I have little things that I do for myself, it gives me that ability to then not let that moment kind of ruin our day. But that's
yeah,
hard
yeah,
to do.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I was just going to say, I think it's so easy to
Yeah,
like not even not prioritize yourself, like have yourself at the
yeah,
lowest rung of the ladder and just keep pushing through and keep pushing through, but actually you're not helping anyone
No,
to do
100%.
that. You're I feel like when I've got to that point, I'm much snappier. I like got much less emotional resilience, or I might be sitting with my son but I'm thinking about something else. So I think the self-care stuff, I think mothers are just almost like fetishized as being so selfless, but it's
not
not a
good.
good
It's
thing to be
not.
in that
Not good
place.
at
And
all. It's
and
not
and
good.
I always say, and it's so evident as well that our kids love to see us happy. Our kids notice when we're happy and when we're sad. Um, there'll be points where Theo, he's just so emotionally clued in. He'll come up to me and he'll be like, "Oh, how is Mummy feeling today? Is
Oh,
Mummy
Oh,
feeling happy? Is Mummy feeling sad?"
oh, wow.
And I'll have those honest conversations with him. Sometimes he'll get in trouble from school, and I'll say, "Mummy's feeling sad because Theo got in trouble today, and Mummy would have liked Theo to do this and X, Y, Z." But they're so in tune with that, and
Yeah.
I always say to my friends, especially my mum friends, like, you can't fill from an empty cup. Like, our cups have to be at least over halfway full to be able to pour out into the amount of people that we need to pour out into,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And too many times we put ourselves on the back burner. And I think, again, that's probably something that I saw with my mum. Like, my mum is the most selfless. Even to this day, she will put her grandkids above putting food on her table. Like, she will get her grandkids shoes that they don't even need, that is
Mm.
3 sizes too bigger, because she saw them and she really liked it. But again, I've seen how that has, played a part on her, because actually at points where she needs to pour into herself, she doesn't know how to do that because she hasn't ever done that before. And I think, I try to hold my friends accountable. So I've got school mums that we go and meet out on a monthly, and that's our thing. Without the kids, we'll go out for dinner, we'll go out for drinks and just catch up. I've got my friends' mums that it's like, yeah, we've got our kids' dates and then we got our separate dates because we need times without the kids.
It's like me and Tiffany. We're like, we need to do something, and we'll do something with the kids.
Yeah, exactly. But you need that time, and I think that's probably something that I tell my mum all the time, is that she needs to start putting herself first. But I'm conscious that I am one of those people, and my son will be that as well. Well, I'll be like, well, you're not doing that, so if you're not going to do it, why am I not going to do it? So I'm conscious I need to live and breathe what I want my kids to do. Therefore, I've got sons as well, and I'm very conscious that I want my sons to know that there are very incredible, powerful women that you need to support. And best believe you're going to be washing the dishes and you're going to be putting in the clothes, and that's not just a woman's role. So all of these things I need to embed very early on, so that when they meet their partner, it's not their partner teaching it to them. They've already been taught it. So yeah,
completely agree with that.
About all of this.
having a boy, I've been really about making sure he'll play with any toy that he's interested in. There's no boy or girl toys, but also he's only said it once, but I think he said girls can't do that, and it was something that he'd heard from school, and I was like,
that's not going to run with me.
No. Girls, I think it was like, girls can't play with that Lego or something, and he felt like they had to have girls Lego, which is like the pink kind, and I was like, no, girls can play with whatever they want to play with, and just shut it down completely.
I think that's probably one thing that I find interesting, because I think as if I was a girl mum, I feel like I would be able to navigate it a lot more best, because I could go from my own experiences, right? And be able to feed in those lessons that my mum taught me into my daughter. I think what is interesting as a boy mum, especially like now with all of this social media, and I keep seeing things about the manosphere and all of this content that the young boys are like ingesting. It's like, how can I, from very early doors, like you're saying, make sure my son understands that there isn't any gender roles. Actually, everyone's equal, and you need to respect women exactly the same you would respect anyone else. I think that's probably, I'm the person that will think like 6-10 years ahead, and I'm like,
we're there thinking about mobile phones.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, he's not even at that point, but how am I going to navigate
you have to. I feel like you have to. I feel like I don't know if the joys for me is that I am a boy and a girl mom, so I'm like and they have very different personalities as well. So every single day I'm like dealing with chalk and cheese, and I'm definitely interested as well in the boy space, because I think, obviously we don't want to get into all that too much, but the reality is that there are a lot of books that says women are strong, women are capable, but there's not that many for like boys, and kind of, because I think sometimes we're too busy with the women issues that we do leave the boys behind a bit, and sadly you see suicide rates, and especially having a sensitive son. My son is very sensitive, and I know that he may get to a point where people might tell him he's too sensitive, or he's too, it should be more manly or whatever. So it kind of, stop crying, but his empathy is his strength. Like, he's exactly like your boy. My son will say, he said to me the other day, "Mommy, are you okay?" I said, "Are you okay?" He says, "Yes, I'm fine, Mommy. Are you okay?" Then he said, "You were crying the other day. Are you okay now?" And that was months ago. So now that they're in tune with emotions. And for me, it's like, how do I send a message to him that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to cry, it's okay to be strong too. And crying doesn't make you any less of a boy. But it is hard, isn't it? But you do have to get into that. I read Raising Boys by, I can't remember the name now, but that's one I would recommend
Steve
for you.
someone, isn't it?
Steve someone, Raising Boys. That's a really good book. It just I can't remember, but I think it's quite well known, and it just really talks about like the stages of being a boy, like what they need when they're
Yeah,
like between 0 to 3, maybe the attachment to their mothers, then it switch to their dads
yeah,
in terms of looking for how to be a boy and be a man,
yeah,
and then in the later stages they tend to like an external influence, or someone maybe outside of the family that would be like a mentor and a guide. And
yeah.
I think there's some truth in that. I mean, obviously you've got to raise your kids as you raise your kids in a day, but I do think it's important to just be aware of what's out there and what media is sharing, and I don't know, like social media, and it's coming for us, I think.
It is. It is. And when I think about when we grew up just on the cuff of like computers and things, right? And our parents had no clue. Like
No
I
idea.
remember
There was no even.
I would go on the computer, they had no clue what I was doing. And that's gonna be the same as
That
our
can't.
kids when they will
Yeah.
have their technology.
I feel like the only saving grace was when we were growing up. I mean, my computer was like,
Yeah.
I'm early 40s, dial-up internet in
I
like
still
a
prefer
downstairs room. So
AOL.
it was
I
like,
remember AOL. Welcome to AOL.
so like, you'd get told to get off your mum needs to ring your grand. Can you get off the internet, please? And, you had to do it in a public space. So you kind of had that of,
Yeah,
your dad might walk in and ask you to do something. So
exactly.
there were some controls, but I feel
Yeah,
like,
now it's
we've
different.
gone
You can
into
take a phone into your
alien.
room. I think someone like it's like kids can take a whole thing into the bedroom. Like there was an advert, I can't remember which company it was. It was like there was a boy in his room with his phone, and there was an actual man in the room, and it's saying it's like taking a man into, like taking a stranger into your room, because
Yeah.
literally they have
Yeah,
adverts, they
that's
have
the thing.
people
Yeah.
asking them questions on there. But yeah, I think the whole phone and internet and gender, we really need to keep pay attention, I think.
Yes,
So
we definitely do.
I saw
Yeah.
something about a school yesterday that they
Mm.
all are given like lockable like bags they
Yeah.
can't unlock to put their phones in. I was like,
Mm.
well, I like the sound of this. So
Ease.
Yeah.
our kids are little enough that I feel like maybe by the time they're at that point, there will be
Mm.
some more solutions
Yeah.
in place.
You'll be surprised though, because, and this is why I said I was quite a naughty kid, right? So
Mm.
hopefully my kids will never watch this, um, but and get tips. But
Love
we
it.
also in school, in my first school, because I changed schools because I had a bit of a dramatic schooling. In my first school, we wasn't allowed phones, but all the girls knew that, so we used to hide our phones in our
Wow.
bras. So I feel like whilst we can, we do this lock your phones
Yeah.
away, kids are very
It's
intuitive,
there.
and if they want
Mm.
to keep something on them, they will somehow keep them on them. So I think it's about how we can, like, for me it's just about how I can educate Theo to be
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
be strong-willed in your own decisions. Like, you may see things, because
Mm.
realistically you can't stop what they see, you can't stop the conversations that happen in the playground, but
Yeah.
actually how can I give my child
Build
enough
them up.
resilience to stand up and say, actually, that
Mm.
doesn't sound right. That's
Mm-hmm.
not okay. I don't agree with that. I'm not gonna follow you. And I think
Mm.
that's where my mind is at, is how can I instill that in him? Um whilst I
Mm.
think he's pretty much in his, because he says no to me quite a lot. So I'm seeing the
Just practicing
potential
already.
there.
Love it. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
we get. Oh, go on.
I don't know,
I
it's
was
okay,
just.
it's gone.
I was just going to say we get. I won't.
Yeah.
That's what we get. I won't.
Or I'll get the nope, and he'll still do it anyway. Like, he'll be doing it. He'll
Mm.
be like, I don't want to do it, but you're doing it, so that's fine.
Oh,
Just complain about it and still do
yeah.
it.
The joys, I think the joys of raising them, hopefully independent and strong children.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, let's switch it up a bit. I think I was looking for your intro a bit, and I love the fact that you describe yourself as the mouthy girl from Southeast London.
Yes,
That says to me that you're, proud of your roots, proud of
I
your
am.
journey, but also you're the very same girl that walked through, the gates of Buckingham Palace to receive your MBE. I mean, let's just take that all in for a moment. I mean, talk me through like that moment when you found yourself in Buckingham Palace and just reliving all that. And yeah,
It was very surreal and very mad.
okay.
Um, I'll be honest. Like, I always say this, because even now, I've had the MBE for 4 years now, which is even
Mm,
crazy to even think it's been 4 years. But there's such a disconnect
okay.
there. Like, who I see myself as Natalie, that is from ends, that you know, was Mouthy had attitude. Like I catch up with my teachers now, and they make a joke of it, and they said, "Yeah, like you was a bit of a handful in school. That's not a joke." Because I was the student that would be like, "Why, miss? I don't want to do that." Like that was me, and I was proud about it. Like I'll be honest, I had a lot of stuff going on. So, like I said, I lost my brother. You know, my mum was suffering from mental health. Like the home wise, there was a lot of stuff going on, and school just felt like an opportunity where I could almost release it, I guess, in this strange, mouthy bubble way. So to get that invitation from Buckingham Palace, firstly, like it's all embargo, so you get this thick letter, and it's like, yeah, this is from the House of Palace, and you're like,
Ooh.
I was like, hold on,
Love
I
it.
paid my taxes. What is going on? What is this about? And then I opened it, and yeah, I've still got the letter because obviously it's not something that I'm going to throw away, right? But it was like, yeah, you know, we've got this application that's come through. It's gone through House of Parliament. Prime Minister signed it off, and it was actually the last honours that the late Queen done before she passed away.
Wow.
Because she literally passed away a few months after I got the letter. And I'll be honest, I was on maternity leave when I got the letter, firstly, with my first baby. And it's weird because when you're on maternity leave, like you're in this really strange bubble that, like, work, I wasn't even thinking about work. So when I got this letter, I was a bit like, what? Like, what? But for me, it was bringing my family in. So I always say this, like, I had a bit of back and forth about whether I would whether I would accept it, because they give you a time period to accept it or not. And I was debating just because of the history of it and kind of, you know, how I felt. But I had some really honest conversations with my mum and my dad, and actually just like my nan and their kind of journey and understanding what they went through to even get me to this place. Like for me, it's, I don't say I got that MBE. I say that my family got that MBE, right? Because it's through the hard work and effort that they put into raising me why I'm the person that feels like I can be outspoken and I can call out things, and I'm a strong Black female, and that's all because of what my parents have fed into me. So I'm very conscious of that. But yeah, even to this day, it still feels like a disconnect because I'm still living in Southeast London. Like I can see my old secondary school down the road. Like for me, nothing has really changed in my environment, except for now the rooms that I'm in, the things that I'm doing. But in terms of my values and who I am, that's still the same as when I stepped in the door at 17 at Barclays. Still that mouthy girl that's like, right, we can do things better. How can I bring my community into that space? So I think, and when you ask like what keeps you grounded, I think again it's I haven't left the ends. I'm still like friends with all the people that I grew up with. Like nothing's changed in that area for me. It's just all of the work that I do.
I feel like no one can keep you grounded like a school friend as well,
No,
because
no
they
one can.
They remind you of back then.
Yeah, no one
I remember,
can.
I think it was Tony. I think it was Tony Robbins who said, actually, don't quote me. It might not be Tony Robbins, but something like you're celebrated in public for the work you've done in private, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm kind of getting from your journey. It's like you were always Natalie, you always kind of, you know, had the resilience. You just needed maybe like a channel to put it in, which was obviously Barclays and the maybe the work you do, right? From a professional perspective, but you were always, you just, not that you needed environment, but you just had to take
Yeah.
you, yeah, and move it there. And then suddenly the world sees you, right? Suddenly you're on the platform.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like I've been very fortunate in my journey to have people around me that were a
Okay.
couple of steps ahead of me that saw something in me.
Okay.
So like, whilst I knew that, I think when I stepped into work at 17, I knew firstly I wanted to better myself. I didn't want to be that statistic, because I remember being told by teachers, yeah, you're too mouthy. You're just, if you're going to keep up like this, you're not going to get a job. You're going to be working in the aisles. Da, 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 da. And I just really wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted to prove that I could actually do something for myself. So that was the energy that I had stepping into Barclays. And then when I started again, it was because of, I was working with a charity that supported young people that came from disadvantaged backgrounds. They picked me up as one of them. And then they had an opportunity to bring young people to do an assessment day for Barclays. I was one out of, I think, 10 of us. 3 of us got the role, and I was one of those 3. So I'm always very conscious that it's through opportunities that I've had. I went on that apprenticeship scheme because someone in a charity had a connection, saw Natalie might be a good person to go for that assessment day. Even throughout my career at Barclays, it has been literally people been like, I can see you've got a drive in you. Let me teach you about corporate, because I didn't. No one from my family came from a corporate background, especially not in finance. So the whole rules and regulations that no one talks about how to get through a financial role, and all of the things that are outside of your job that you need to do, the networking, the building your presence, like I didn't know any of that. So it was people helping me along the way. So I'm very conscious that I wouldn't be where I am if people didn't help me on that journey. So I can't be the person that's not helping other people. So yeah, that's always kind of rung true, to just, as long as I'm helping people and there's a purpose-led driven mission there, then that's enough for me.
So almost paying it forward, or is it paying it back?
Yeah, exactly.
Paying it forward, yeah. I think Oluwa Palumi spoke about this. There's a lady we had on Ambition, Oluwa Palumi. She's a lawyer. She's Nigerian. She's incredible. She's also in the Northeast. And she spoke about like the power of like mentorship and sponsorship in her journey. She said, look, like there had been people that just showed up for me, encouraged me when I needed it. And so she recognized that, there's a lot about like your village or your board of advisors. Because I think you mentioned that in the post, like board of advisors.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
I always talk about like your career should be like your PLC, right?
Okay.
So you need to think about your career as like your business, right? So who are your investors? Who are your sponsors? Who are your board of advisors that will coach you, will elevate you? Then you've got your sponsors that will get you those roles in those rooms that you're not in. Then you will get those inspirational people that will just feed you and help like build you back up, right? And I think once you start looking at your career like that and it's not about, being like, this person can get me this, so that's the only reason why I'm going to connect with them, right? No relationship is going to work like that. I've always found the relationships that work well have been like, how can I help you? Like, what's some of the things that are on your mind? How can I help you? And then it's like a mutual relationship like that. But yeah, definitely treating your career like it's your own PLC and driving it like that makes a big difference to navigating who to contact for what, and creating almost like a stakeholder mapping list. I tell like people that I mentor, like, who in the business does what, where do they work, how can you work with them, and just creating that list, because you never know, especially in corporates, someone that you're working with could be your boss in a couple of years. So yeah,
I think it's a really interesting way of looking at it as well. I haven't heard other people describe it like that as well, of like your board of advisors and stuff. I think it's so easy to get into a career and then and be focused on, I guess, where you're going, but not thinking about the bigger picture and what's going on around you. So I think that's really amazing advice for anyone listening, and also for the people you mentor.
And also it can feel really lonely, like, especially when you're navigating this corporate space and, you're like, you haven't connected with people like that. Like I've definitely had scenarios, where, I've had instances where I felt really uncomfortable by a scenario, and I've gone to someone that I know and trust that it's a safe space to be like, right, this has personally happened to me.
Okay.
this is how I want to navigate it. Do you think this is the right way? Because I can be a firecracker. Like I also recognize that in myself. That South London spirit can come out. So I'm very conscious that I don't want to be that angry, that aggressive black woman, right? I want to come at it with logic and I want to come at it with reason. So I'm always very conscious to make sure that anything that I do, I have a board of advisors that I'm checking in with, just to sense check that what I'm thinking is not based out of anger, it's not based out of emotion, but it's based out of logic. And
I
I think
love
that's
that. Yeah, I really like that. And I think it's something I can relate to as well. I think I have often seen myself to make emotional decisions where,
yeah,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with emotions. I think as a woman, it's actually a superpower, you know. But I do think sometimes if you just delay your decision a bit and
yeah,
not, oh, I'm
massively.
angry about this, that person's done it. Oh, and I've found that often in times where you just slow it down a bit, you actually realize 24 hours later or 48 hours later that you didn't need to blow up the whole building, right? And I think that's always interesting, isn't it? But it's just finding that balance. And often there are people that may make decisions differently from you and just
Yeah,
maybe listen to them because pride, right? Pride goes before a fall.
this is it.
And if you feel like you're the smartest person in the room or in your life, then perhaps you need to get into some other
You
rooms,
need to
right?
get, yeah, agreed.
I'm always interested though in how people can get access to networks that is not
Mm,
ordinarily within their reach. I don't know if you
yeah,
remember a few years ago, guys. There was a boy called, I can't remember his first name, something Nelson, and he blew up all over LinkedIn because he was someone from, I think he was from South London, was a young black boy. It's been going through really tough times, got himself involved in, I don't want to say gangs or in assume, but he got himself in a bad way. He lost, I think, his dad, and he was going through a really bad time. And he found himself in somewhere in central London, right? Really nice, affluent area. And he actually went and knocked on one of the doors, and he ended up being someone answering the door. And he said to the person, "Look, I'm just having a really bad time at life right now, but I feel like I have a lot of potential. And do you have any advice for me of how someone like you could potentially have a property like this?" And the person actually invited him in and ended up sponsoring him to go on a
yeah, I love
finance like apprenticeship within the company. It was like a trade. I don't know if it's like Credit Suisse or one of those. And that's how he got his foot on into the ladder. And now he's like in finance. So, and I'm like I said, it's kind of thinking of how can people get access to networks and not ordinarily theirs. But I always remember that story, and I always remember him just because that's someone who obviously took the
that.
chance, took the opportunity, put themselves out there. And I suppose for anyone else, we could use it as like maybe even LinkedIn, right? Nowadays, with you have a network at your
Yeah,
fingertip. And I mean, I was doing a thing. I saw someone recently doing a challenge. That she said she was in a 100-day challenge where she reaches out to someone new every single day and just maybe introduce herself. So I'm always thinking of how can we get outside of ourselves and maybe network in a useful way or in a way that may bring opportunities. Like, what do you think about that? Of ideas of how
oh,
we can do that?
I love that. I think LinkedIn is probably the most powerful one. I think in the
Yeah.
corporate, I'll be honest, like people just love to talk
Okay.
about themselves. I think people underestimate how you can literally send an email or a team to someone and say, "I love what you do. I'd love to just hear about more." Um, that's how I built a lot of my network when I was
Okay.
started up, because there wasn't linked. Well, was there LinkedIn? Barclays 13 years ago, maybe there was LinkedIn. I'm not too
I
sure.
think it was about, but I think it was literally like,
Yeah, like
I'm thrilled to announce just all of that kind of thing.
definitely wasn't using it the way I was using it
Not
now.
like they're using Facebook. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah, like picture of your food. But yeah, it was literally just emails, I guess, when I
Okay.
first started. LinkedIn has been probably the most powerful tool, but also networking events. I think
Okay.
because we was in a COVID world as well, like people really underestimate the value of just being in a room with people now. So I went to UK Black Business Week recently, and
Yeah.
I think the way people do this is incredible, right? Because she got my attention, and now I've got a meeting with her, right? So she clearly worked it very well. So this young lady came up to me after the back of off the back of a panel that I was sitting on, and she literally quoted me word for word, like what I've been doing for the last 5 years. She was like, "Yeah, I've been following you. I've seen the
Oh
incredible stuff
wow.
that you've been doing in the
Oh.
Investing Women for. I was at this award where you were speaking at this event, and I would love you to be like, I would love to have a one-to-one conversation with you." Now, that already shows me that you have done enough research about me to be like, right, I would love to have a sit down conversation with you. So now I have a meeting with her, right? And I think people think that sometimes people are so far and high up to reach out to. I've emailed CEOs from our teams to be like, yeah, I would love to have a coffee chat to introduce myself to you, just to find out a little bit more about you. People are people, and I say this all the time. Like, I'm really like blasé with my words, but you know, we all go toilet the same way. So there is no reason why someone can't respond to an email. We are all of the same blood. So yeah, I think that a lot of that is mindset as well, and I think that doesn't help when you're in places that have grades and you're like, oh, this is a managing director, and you know, I'm only a 4 level or a 3 level. Like, I think
I think they talk like that in the NHS, that like, oh well, you can't do that because
you're banned this.
But yes, I totally agree on the people are people. Totally. As you were just saying it, I was thinking people are people. And you know, I feel like, yeah, COVID did have a big impact on people being able to do that face-to-face thing, but actually it is super powerful. And, you know, we've interviewed people on here, and then when we've met them in person, I'm thinking about Sophie Milliken, Tiffany, when we met her in person, it was like, really emphasize the connection. It's different to talking to somebody through a screen. Although coffee chats online are still really helpful to have that one-on-one together if you can't get out there face-to-face and meet people. But I think it's hard because you're right about it being a mindset thing.
Yes.
That if you are not used to opening up conversations with people, you maybe need to do some work on that first before you're able to do that. I'll talk to anyone.
Completely agree.
But
there's like really good scenarios. There's really good scenarios where you can do stuff like that though. Okay. So I am, for all of my sins, people don't believe me when I say it, but I like to coin myself as an introverted extrovert. So whilst I can be extroverted, I really just like to be in my house, not speaking to anyone, listening to music, like just leave me alone. But I can be very extroverted when I'm comfortable around people. But you know, to get through to becoming comfortable at being extroverted, I had to be comfortable at being uncomfortable, which I say to a lot of people, first thing you need to start doing. Best ways to do that is getting out to, like, if you're a colleague that's working for like a corporate organization, a lot of them will have like employee resource groups where you can kind of build like communities there. So especially like in the finance sector where, you know, you don't see as much black colleagues in leadership roles. For me, it was really big to like be part of the black professional employee resource group, just so I can get to meet other people and like find out what their experiences were, how they're finding it, how they're navigating it. And again, that story where I said of feeling alone, you don't feel as alone when you start to build a community. But through going to events like that, where I like to be in my house and I don't like to be out, forced me to be comfortable with introducing myself. Hi, I'm Natalie. This is what I do. This is what I would like to get into. And the more you start saying it, the more you start doing it, the better your pitch will evolve and the better your spiel will evolve. So one of the biggest things I always say to people is just learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where your development really drives.
Thank you so much for saying that. Advice. Yeah, because I think so many people underestimate that it takes a bit of effort to get there. I think a lot of people think, oh, these people must be naturally like, you know,
it's okay for them.
Yeah, they must be naturally confident. There was a lady on LinkedIn, Laura, I can't remember her name. She's like quite huge on like she does coaching, and I remember she made a post about, oh, people say, oh, Laura, you must be so confident, and she's like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is my background. I was in an abusive relationship. I went through that. You think,
Laura Brunton.
Yes, that's all. So basically, girl, that's what it took to be the Laura we see today. That's all over LinkedIn and doing a business is incredibly doing well. I remember someone actually, it's been referring that I try and speak to her, that we try and speak to her from ambition. And again, I think even going back to my ambition and doing this podcast that we seem so naturally good at, you know, what it's taken, it's embracing like the cringe. I mean, today we have 3,000, I think, 200, probably 60, not that I'm counting, guys, followers on LinkedIn. But one day we had one, like one day we had three. I remember we had 10. We had like, and it's incredible how we have had to embrace the cringe of, number one, putting ourselves out there. Number two, talking about motherhood and ambition, where people might say, but you're new mothers. What do you know about motherhood and ambition? Having to like record my ambition on like Google Meet. Now we're on Riverside, upgrading. And just like, you know, again, having conversations with different women, because I remember our first one, we were like, what do we say to this person? How do we do an introduction? And now it flows off our tongue, you know, oh darling. And we're on 18. Thank you. Now we're on 89 episodes, but I think it took a lot at the beginning to like record the first one. You know, just do it. And now it's like there's the repetition, right? The repetition is a success. The kind of paying the price of putting yourself out there is what it then takes to be here today and saying we podcast.
And I think as well, what Natalie's saying is about you've got to be in that space where you're uncomfortable. We were really uncomfortable when we were doing this at first. We were like, we put off doing the actual recording for as long as humanly possible. But I would also say, like, when you're going out and meeting people, as somebody who will talk to anyone, ask questions. For me, asking questions, if you are unsure about talking to somebody, being nosy is where it's at, really, asking them questions about themselves, because you're then not finding things to say. You listen to, and it's the same as doing this. You're asking people questions, you're listening to what they say, and that then sparks other things for you to talk about. You find common ground. It makes a conversation much easier. So they would be my tips about networking, that you've got to put yourself in that uncomfortable space. But if you find it difficult, questions would be my go-to for opening up a conversation. And I'm so nosy, I will always ask people loads and loads and loads of questions, but it works. And you know, I can have gone and had a conversation with somebody and come and talk to them, and somebody who's known them years is like, oh, I didn't know that about them. It's just because I'm really nosy.
No, but it's just, I think I think that is what you said there, Alex, is the rule of good conversations, and the rule of it's the sum of the type of people we like to be around. Because I was learning something recently about like inverted charisma, where I don't again.
That doesn't sound good.
No. Wait. Let me drop. Let me land like an aeroplane. Let me land. Okay. So there's a story where Jenny Jerome was she's Winston Churchill's mother, and over 2 consecutive nights she met with, I think it was Gladstone and someone else, another like, you know, reputable like leader in Britain. And she was saying how on one night when she met one man, she said he made me one she was so impressed by, and one was very impressed by her, if that makes sense. And the difference is that we are often love to be around people who make us feel special. It's not so much someone banging on about how special they are, because a lot of people could have, okay, so I've done, but when you ask people about themselves and you make them seem interesting, they want to be around you more, and that's how people connect with you. So it's that kind of changing the charisma to be not so much in about you and how amazing you are, but asking questions that makes them open up and makes them feel like, oh, I'm actually much more interesting than I thought I was. And that makes a difference between the type of people we like to be around. And I really like that story. Let's talk about let's talk about intrapreneurship, because I know that's your thing, right? I don't want us to not talk about that. This idea of like, you know, I don't know, like you always talk about like your 9 to 5 is your investor, your classroom, your launch pad. I mean, break that down for us. I
love it. So entrepreneurship is essentially the act of acting like an entrepreneur. So you're working in an established organization, but you're setting up new ideas, pivoting new concepts in a really rigid corporate place. To be honest, I only learned about the terminology once I was already doing it. So I find it interesting where, like, when you're an entrepreneur, where you're a founder, you've got like this title, right? I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, I set things up. But actually, there isn't that for people that are working in corporates in 9 to 5. And I'm really passionate about it. Because I've been living and breathing it. And I feel like that's where I've been able to find my passion and drive that to my purpose, is actually having an entrepreneurial spirit within an organization. But also, I'm also a bit tired of seeing all of the stuff online that tells me that I need to leave my 9 to 5 to feel fulfilled. I think there is a big glamorization at the moment with being a founder, and I work with founders day in and day out. Absolutely love what they do. I see the realities of what they do, and realistically, I don't want to be a founder just yet. I am very happy with having the structure of having a 9 to 5, of knowing where my money is going to come monthly. Um, and it's not saying that I'm never going to set up my own business. I do have things that I do outside of the organization already. However, I'm very acutely aware that my 9 to 5 has been able to launch a lot of the things that I've done outside. So I want to start to change that narrative. Because I think we're doing great at seeing like the Stephen Bartletts and these incredible founders doing incredible things, but we don't get to highlight the people in the organizations that are actually navigating really, really corporate systems that will benefit founders. So yeah, essentially entrepreneurship is that I'm writing a book on it at the moment. So that's where as well the bags are not just the children, it's also the writing that I'm doing in the evening. And it's the book I wish I had when I started. So it's essentially a handbook for anyone that wants to start up their own concept within their 9 to 5, step-by-step guide of how to do it, building your stakeholders, negotiating, to the point where at the end of the book they will have a nice Bible essentially of how to set up their pilot, and they can run with that in whatever organization they're in.
Wow, I really like that, because I think, again, I'm also of the mindset that there is a lot of sexiness around having your own business. Yeah, it's so sexy. It's like, yeah.
I want to be part of that
Yeah,
but also in quite an unrealistic way as well. They don't show the work that's got to go into it.
This is it, right? And I think, like I said, I work with founders day in, day out, and there's this whole pretense that if you go and leave your 9 to 5, you're not working for anyone else. You're your own boss. And really, that's not actually true, because now you're at testament to your clients, right? Now you're at testament to get those sales, to be able to put food on the table. So I think, I work 9 to 5. I don't know any founders that actually shut off their laptop at 5 o'clock and have weekends and have sick pay and have maternity leave. So I'm very conscious that not everyone can afford to kind of go and jump ship. And we shouldn't vilify people that are working in 9 to 5. Because actually, if someone like me wasn't at Barclays, we wouldn't have set up the Black Founders Accelerator and now had more support for Black founders, where we're giving equity to founders. So like for me, that all starts with people in organizations still shifting the dial, and I'm very conscious that we don't want to lose those people still in those organizations, because these are the organizations that have the capital essentially. So we need people on both sides of the coin. I just think social media glamorizes too much on entrepreneurship. So I want to make entrepreneurship sexy. I want it to be sexy that we have a 9 to 5, because it is still sexy. And yeah, I just want to bring that notion to the table. So I'm writing a book at the moment, and yeah,
buy the book.
I sign up, no, because
don't worry, we'll put a link there. Buy the book when it's ready.
I have a waiting list and a mailing list.
I love that.
But yeah, the book will be out next year. I'm currently doing interviews at the moment, so it's not just about me. I'm very conscious that I want to get other stories from people that have done incredible things. So I've got people from other banking organizations, from law firms, from government, that I'll be interviewing as part of the book to bring out their stories in this handbook. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, there's someone I need to connect you with. I can't remember his name. There's 2 people actually who are in organizations but also running their own thing. Nice. I love to go through my LinkedIn, but yeah, I think, I'm just making a note now. So after the conversation, I'll definitely connect you. There's someone that I think he's with EY, and he does some sort of programs like young people, but he's employed but still doing something. Yeah. There's another guy I met about a few years ago, really amazing. Yeah, I don't know why, but I just feel like you guys need to be
Please
connected.
connect.
So I'll do
Yeah,
that
please
after the
connect.
conversation. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I think there's no wrong or right way to do things. Just
No.
looking at yourself and your kind of capacity to maybe take on risks, what financial security you have. Because, 10 years ago, I quit my job actually. I remember quitting my job, but I only did that really. And I went traveling for 3 months and I started a business in my back bedroom. Well, one bedroom, because I lived in London in a shared house. But I remember that I was able to do that because number one, I had savings. I had quite a lot of savings.
Yeah,
So I was able to say, oh, I'm starting a business. And the business did okay. But one thing that really helped me was the fact that I had savings. I was very good with money. So I feel like there's a lot more factors that perhaps people don't always share. And it's not always like, oh, follow your passion.
And not everyone's even got the desire to
Yeah,
do it,
that is true
and
as
they
well.
shouldn't feel lesser because they
yeah,
don't want
They
to.
don't have that.
It's a choice,
yeah.
and there's room for everyone, isn't there, to kind of find their own path. But this sounds like you're showing them how to find a kind of different way that's got a lot of
Exactly.
Yeah,
meaning within what they're doing already.
And I
yeah.
think it's the whole purpose of the book is how to innovate from where you are. I feel like everything that I see is like, yeah, this is what you can do in 3 to 5 years time. But actually, a lot of the stuff that I was doing, so before I set up the program, I was doing community events, and that was side of desk. And like, there's things that you can do from day one that can build your skills for day 100. So the book really kind of touches into how you can innovate from where you are. This isn't for senior leaders. This is for like middle managers. This is for like your everyday like your aspirational colleague. For them to build on it from today, essentially, for them to take away, note down what the conversation that they're going to have. And Monday, when they go into the office, they're going to build that conversation. They're going to negotiate that contract. They're going to negotiate that pilot. So, yeah, I'm really excited because I had a lot of learns, I had a lot of failings, I had a lot of people that helped me on that journey. And almost this is just what I wish I had back then. So yeah, I want people to know that if you're in a 9 to 5, you are just as innovative, you are just as creative as those that have left their businesses. You can just find and carve your own space in that field. So that's what the book's all about.
You don't have to be side hustling.
You don't. You can hustle in the day job.
I love that. No, I love that. And I think it's kind of what we're doing. I mean, it's kind of what I'm doing, my ambition. I mean, I have a job, I'm a contractor, you could say, for a recruitment agency. And it's not my company, so the buck doesn't,
Yeah,
end or start with me. So it's quite nice. I can, for example, go on holiday with my children and,
yeah,
all the balls will not be dropped. But at the same time, I've got my ambition, which in a weird way kind of feels like this fulfilling, passionate. So I am also learning that maybe your day job doesn't have to be your passion
yeah.
project. It could pay the bills and maybe build a network for you.
Exactly.
So it's
Well,
maybe
I
putting things
spoke
into
about
different,
this as
yeah.
well. It's
Okay.
a lot of people underestimate the fact that a lot of their colleagues and people that they meet in their business, in their corporate, will probably be clients of their business
Okay.
later on, right? Because it's about the relationships you build. So it can be funding it, like if it's literally actually you're allowing me the space and the capacity to build this outside of work. It
Okay.
might be negotiation skills, it might be people skills, it might be any type of skills, right? But there is something that you can learn from your day job today that will enhance you for tomorrow.
Well, so
Love
that
it.
long-term perspective of what your
Exactly.
job is, rather than seeing as like, oh, that it's not working for myself. I'm
Yeah,
not not solopreneur. Okay, I like that. Seeing as a learning curve, a
a
space
hundred
to
percent.
take something. Wow, I feel like we could talk to you forever, but I know it's been an hour now. Now people are like, I got kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is for mothers, right? I mean, I'd love to go kind of full circle, because I love the fact that obviously we spoke about, like, from South London to Buckingham Palace. But imagine if you were standing in front of like that 17-year-old Natalie, right now, with your oversized blazer and everything. What would you say to her? I'd love to kind of hear um,
Oh,
that side of it.
I love it when Tiffany gets deep.
I was
No,
gonna
but
say,
no, but I can see it through you, like
oh,
through the threads of the conversation. I can see that you're
um,
there.
what would I say to 17-year-old Natalie? I would say, um, back yourself. I would say you can bring more to the table than you actually realize at this point. The fact that you're different is actually going to be such a benefit for you. Whilst you may feel uncomfortable in that first couple of months entering that door, that will actually be your superpower, is your difference to everyone else. And keep continuing to be the sassy girl that points things out and calls things out, because I think there was a point where I was worried about stereotypes and actually leaning into that, but actually that's been my superpower, has been calling things when I see things wrongs and actually saying what can we do to do things better. So I would say 17-year-old Natalie, continue to be bold, be brave, be bright, which is what I tell my son every day. That's our daily affirmations. So I'll tell that to myself. I didn't have that as an affirmation to myself, but that's what I would tell myself. And just continue to be you, because that is going to see you through, is being authentically yourself.
Lovely.
Natalie, you are just, you went there. Love it. Where can people find you online?
Oh, great question. So I am everywhere. I'm everywhere. So if you want to follow me on socials, you just need to type in Natalie Ojevah. I come up on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I also have a website, so if you're interested in services, because I do all types, you can check out my website. I also have a blog on there as well, where I do some inserts into my book, so you can sign up to my mailing list too. So just go on my website, natalieojevah.co.uk, and connect with me.
I'm disappointed it doesn't have MBE in the end of
what
my web address.
I should add the MBE in there.
Add it.
I
might even add it just for banter.
It's on the logo, it's on the domain.
You know, when I rang up for a restaurant, I'd be like, it's Alex Morgan MBE. Just, get that best table. So I think you'd be very
do that for their
restrained.
Oh, really? No, but why not? I think, I mean, one thing a lot of women do is like, feel shy about things, but sometimes just play with it.
Yeah.
And kind of.
Oh, don't get me twisted. Theo's school applications, Michael's school, MBE on everything.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Love that.
But I want to say a massive thank you to both of you, because you guys have curated such a safe space. And like I said, when you reached out to me, you was like, we want to speak about motherhood. I was like, yes, please, because no one ever talks about this. And just thank you for bringing mums to the table where we can be ourselves and just speak about what's important to us. So thank you to you both for curating such a space.
And thank you for being you, Natalie. Honestly, this has been super inspiring. I think it will stay with me for a very long time. So thank you, guys. I'll let Alex do the outro.
Thanks, everybody. As always, as Ted would say, smash that like button. Please share this episode with anyone you think would find it interesting. And we only accept 5-star reviews, but please leave them. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Catch you next time.